All right, my name is Chris Campbell. I'm a practicing CPA and I work with small businesses and individuals to help them pay the least amount of taxes possible while keeping them out of jail. So, today I wanted to talk about not necessarily anything with the tax code. This is more of a reflection point. I've been self employed for about 22 years now. And what I wanted to reflect on was some of my lessons that I've learned along the way. It was a trial by fire as far as figuring out what works and what doesn't work as far as being self employed. So I wanted to share some of the key mistakes that I think that I've made along the way and things that I'm still looking to try to fix now. And it's always improving. So here's a couple things that I think I've learned along the way that might be useful to others. One thing is realizing that things take time. And you need time on your side to really build anything of meaning and success. During my journey, I've done a number of different ventures. Some were very short lived, some were complete failures, and I've had some moderate success. But with that, I've had my bag of failures. And one of the attributes as far as I think why I failed, I didn't give things enough time. I would go through a season of going to create this business and I spend months trying to set this thing up. I get it going. And before I used to have the attitude of if you build it, they will come. And I used to have the attitude that this is great. Everyone should just see how great this is once I put it together. And once I put this thing out, this thing is just gonna go like gangbusters. Everybody's gonna hop on, everybody's gonna sign up, everyone's going to use the product or service because I just thought it was just so obvious that any and everyone qualified can use this service. So that is the attitude I used to have, and that was just incorrect. There were times that I put it together and they didn't pop for the way that I would expect them to do right away. And as a result, I had a bit of impatience. I didn't understand why this thing wouldn't pop right away. And the biggest thing is just realize that because it doesn't just explode right away, that doesn't mean that your idea is not good or the business itself is not good. It's just you got to put in the time. You have to make people aware of what you're doing. And sometimes people aren't necessarily there with you as far as when they're ready to buy or purchase, but things take time. I shouldn't say there is no such thing as overnight success. I'm sure anyone can probably put out a few examples of that, but I'd like to think that's probably an anomaly. The norm is you got to give yourself time and things need to season. I tell my clients, look, you're starting something, unless you had some sort of marketplace advantage where you had a set marketplace, you had the clients and everything was pretty seamless, you got to give yourself some time, some years. And sometimes those years will be filled with suffering. That's probably one of the biggest mistakes that I've made is you got to give things time. So now anything that I approach, whether it be my practice, anything else I'm involved in, you just got to give things time. And also you got to put in that work while that time is going. Create your routine as far as what you're doing to build things up, but ultimately you need the time. So that's one thing. One of the other big mistakes that I've made is lack of focus. As I said before, I've worked on or created or tried to start many different ventures. And I'd probably say I've had more failure than successes. But one of the biggest issues as far as why I also didn't have success outside of not giving things time was a lack of focus. Creating businesses or running businesses is difficult. It's hard, it's challenging. It's that saying that if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And where I went wrong is taking this difficulty and multiplying it by, in some instances, four. I remember at one point I was trying to operate on my own four different businesses at the same time, and I'd say 2 to 3 of them were considered startup, starting from scratch. And here I was pulling myself in many different directions because some of the businesses were completely unrelated. I'm doing a practice, I'm doing some stuff in healthcare, I'm doing some internet stuff, completely unrelated. So there wasn't really any synergies between the three where the development of one business was feeding off of the other and helping the other along. No, that was not the case. So here I was at one point trying to do 3 or 4 different businesses and to get them up and going and profitable at the same time, and only half of them were even profitable. So it's a tough climb to deal with one. Here I was trying to do 4 at one time by myself. That's a tough thing to do. But what I had to do to combat that was scale down my businesses and really focus. 1, 2, my main one at this point being my practice. I have some ancillary things going on, but they take up very little of my time. And I've seen the results, really being able to focus on the practice. You got to be focused, and you can't have your attention going in all different ways. And that's just on the business side. That also applies to personal life as well. So you have a lot of distractions going on in your personal life. It's hard to focus to go towards a goal. So that's one of the other big things that I've learned is maintaining focus. So one of the other mistakes that I've had is looking to do stuff just for money. I might be out, I might be driving somewhere, or just maybe in the normal course of business, I come across something and I'm like, man, I think that'd be a good idea. Oh, this should make some money. And I would decide to try to go and do it and set up said company. This is in the phase when I was trying to do multiple companies at one time, feeding into the other problem as far as not having focus. Some of the things that I was looking to get into, I was doing it because simply I thought you could make money, meanwhile not necessarily having a passion about that industry or what you were doing. And I didn't realize before how important that was. You can always go through the motions, but I think to really be successful and to really push and get something off the ground, you have to be somewhat passionate about what it is that you're doing or what that project is or that industry. You have to be somewhat passionate about it. Why? Because as I mentioned before, when you get into businesses, it's hard. And you're going to run up against some walls, you're going to run into obstacles. And when you run into these obstacles, it's that passion that keeps you going as far as figuring out and determining, is this something that you want to continue to do? Because if it's something that you're not passionate about, you hit these walls, you hit these obstacles, it's very easy to be discouraged and not continue and to give up. It's that passion that keeps you going. You really want to make sure that you have some sort of passion with what you're doing. And the last thing is learning to delegate and learning to let go. One of the things that I was guilty of, and I probably am still to an extent, is looking to just do everything yourself and not looking to leverage other people. To be truly successful, you have to work with others and you have to be able to leverage the time and the ability of others. And for the longest time, I did not do that. I tried to be a machine and try to do everything myself, multiplied by 4 different companies. Biggest lesson that I learned here is not leveraging others and learning to let go and just understanding that not everybody is going to do that work exactly like you. You can get people on board to do it effective enough. And being able to realize that and then let that go opens up a whole new world. It gives you a lot more opportunity to leverage folks. That's where policies and procedures come in. If you wanted to get it as close as possible to you, then creating policies, procedures, and sharing that with the team and being able to have them do it. So those are mistakes that I've made in my career. And these are things that I'm still improving on to this day. As I mentioned in the beginning, it's a constant improvement. It's always improvement. So that's all for now. I hope this helped. So if you have any more questions about this or any other accounting or tax related questions, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help. That's all for now, and I'll see you in the next one.